Big win for Phoenix. I felt like I was the only one. I know I'm not the only one, so I'm not. This is not a victory lap, but I guess I just was surprised how many people thought like people were just going to be off of Phoenix. I get it. That Mavs loss, I still don't understand it. I don't know what the fuck happened. They were 64-18 last year. So even if they're depressed and bummed out and take a step back and maybe have one injury, they're still winning 50-plus games. Like, there's just no way. Booker has been incredible. And this is somebody that, first, second team All-NBA kind of stuff. MVP votes, like real stuff. Like another step up coming off of the finals appearance, too, where people started talking him up. Where, Booker's probably going to have to be at another level more consistently. I think Ayton's looked more aggressive. Some of the numbers aren't as good, some are better, but he just looks more aggressive, which is really the biggest knock on him the entire time. Some of the finishing stuff I've seen from Ayton, I'm like, ooh, where did that come from? So, he's not always going to be perfect, but it's going to be a little bit better. Damian Lee, the game winner against Dallas, and that comeback. I wanted them to bring in a guard, somebody that could run the offense other than Cam Payne and make Chris Paul's life easier. That's not Damian Lee, but at least it's another guard in the mix because their rotation for guards last year. I mean, that's the craziest thing about this Phoenix team is they have this great record last year, and you're like, where are the rest of the guards? And then 2 years ago, they're like, wait, they've only got one big guy after Saric goes down? Like, that's the best that you could do? So it's an oddly weird managed roster of a team that does pretty well. The rest of the roster, Jacques Landale, are you kidding me, Spurs? Did you give up on this guy a little bit too soon? So that's a really nice win for Phoenix against Golden State, who's now given up 70-plus points in the first half in 3 straight games, first time in team history. This game was actually close. Phoenix put it on them in the third quarter, which is what the Golden State plan is usually. And then there was a really interesting, granted, Phoenix could be 4-0. I don't want to assume too much after 8 missed 2 free throws in overtime against Portland, but I just think they're going to be a good basketball team again. And I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. I thought it was crazier that people were just completely off of. Maybe they were only off of them. This is where we can make mistakes. Be like, hey, everybody's saying this. Everybody believes this. Everybody's saying, that happens a lot. But then it could be like, wait, we actually agree. Like, hey, I think Phoenix is going to win 50. I'm never taking them seriously as a contender again. That I would, if you told me that, I'd be like, okay, I can't really tell you that you're wrong. But there was a little dust up in this game between Klay Thompson and Devin Booker. It was the left side in front of the bench for Golden State, I believe. And Klay blocked Booker's shot as he was kind of bringing it up, and Klay got him, and they were John. And I figured they were John because it's just, hey, you're really good. I'm really good. I've been in the league a long time. Like we're in that class of superstars. So we're cool with each other. And then it kept going. And then TNT went to commercial right in the middle of it. And I was like, man, you know what I love is a Scientology ad right during any potential fight in the NBA. And granted, we could sit there and say, hey, they're never going to fight. That's fine too. But you can't go. Now, it's the best tease ever because I'm not going anywhere, right? But that one, whenever there's an altercation, I've said this, there should be just an intern that you hire. Doesn't cost a ton of money. Altercation awareness guy. And all he's doing is looking for the altercations on cameras feeds that we're not seeing. And then we get to see them because we all like to watch it the entire time. And then Klay gets ejected. Like the jawing doesn't stop. So I thought, wow, is there something else there? There isn't. There isn't. Klay went nuts. Phoenix blows him out. Klay points over to the Phoenix bench, essentially indicating I've got 4 rings. I got more than the entire roster combined, which feels a little mean. But they asked Devin Booker about it. Chris Haynes asked him to say, what was that about? And he goes, man, I love Klay Thompson. And kind of left it at that. So I didn't know if there was something that I was missing there. The earlier game, New Orleans, no Zion, no Brandon Ingram, no Herb Jones. And they beat Dallas. They were doing some different things there with Dallas defensively where you could see like some screw ups that New Orleans may have had. Again, the rotation's all different when you're missing those 3 guys. And, there was kind of a small, big debate there on Valanciunas and what New Orleans wanted to do because they took him out to be more active, be a little bit more switchable. But then they were getting crushed on the boards. Dallas didn't make them pay every time, but there was a lot of possessions there late in the tight game. We were like, hey, get a rebound. And it was like, it was kind of this decision that you had. Kostas Van Gundy was talking about it as the game closed out. They were doubling Luka. They were trying to force the ball out of his hands. Then sometimes they're playing him straight up because they didn't want him to go. I mean, just the Luka, you have a Luka dilemma every time you're facing him, and you're not really quite sure what to do with that. But the reason I bring this up, because I look at New Orleans getting a win against a good Dallas team, and I want to go back to something that I'd heard on TNT in the opening week. They were talking about the Clippers. A lot of people are on the Clippers, right? I'm a little surprised. Now, it's a big assumption about Kawhi, right? He's already missed 2 games, by the way. But that's part of the plan. 21 minutes per game, maintenance, the whole deal. So it's not like he's missing games because he's hurt again. That's just part of the plan. And honestly, it's kind of part of the plan with all the top guys. I'm going to be monitoring that again. It should be a bigger deal. When we look at the top 25 scorers from last season, realize they've all missed like 25% of the, not all, but on average, missed almost like 20, 21 games each. On average, not every guy. But as I see the Clippers support coming in, which again feels a little surprising, there's an argument that all the guys on TNT made that they all agreed with. And here's the premise. Here's the point. The biggest take home from this open this week. They said the Clippers are the most talented 1 through 9 in the NBA. And I thought, is it? Here's the thing. It isn't. It isn't. Kawhi, Paul George. I'll give you a healthy Kawhi, Paul George. Zoo, Reggie Jackson, Norman Powell. It's a good 5. The John Wall signing, I like it. I like what it cost. I like what he may have left. I like John Wall. People are acting like this is a huge deal. And it isn't. I would do it. I like that they did it. People are overrating it. I think. Marcus Morris, whatever. Luke Kennard, Batum or Covington. You get Terrence Mann in the mix there too if you wanted to extend it out. That next 4, so let's compare. Hey, Rye, what is better than? Curry, Clay, Draymond, Poole, Wiggins, Looney, JaMychal Green, Wiseman, Dante DiVincenzo. Didn't even have to use Moody or Kuminga. Phoenix, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Austin, Bridges, Cam Johnson, because of no Jay Crowder, get Campaign, Damian Lee, Jacques Landell, Torrey Craig. Do I like that better than the Clippers? I like Golden State better than the Clippers. Do I like Phoenix better than the Clippers? What about Boston? Now, this is one of those things where it becomes a little bit like college football conferences where you go, what if the top 2 are way better and can win a national title? Doesn't that mean that conference is a little bit better? It's kind of like what the Big Ten is dealing with. I think that's a big part of it. Hey, how many contenders do you have? Okay, does one entire side of your conference stink? Oh, it does? That should matter. And so is it who your top 2 are through the 9? Or is it that you can name 9 guys that seem like they're all pretty good? Boston, maybe the best top 2 now. Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Smart, Brogdon, Horford, Derek White, Grant Williams. All right, so I'm at 7. I'd be at 8 with Rob Williams. Number 9 is Vonleh or Sam Hauser. Kind of like Hauser. So now you're like, okay, so how much do I take away if I like the top if I don't like 8 or 9? What about Milwaukee? Giannis, Drew Holiday, Middleton. Let's not turn this into just naming good teams, by the way. I'll stop here soon enough. Brook Lopez, Javon Carter, then Portis, then George Hill, and then it's like, okay, Wes Matthews and Jordan Nwora, who has a good field goal percentage. Kind of like him. Here's a sneaky one for you. Does New Orleans actually have the most talented 1 through 9 in the NBA? Zion, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Jonas Valanciunas, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, who, did you see him last night? He's 4th in minutes. Larry Nance, who I forget is on the Pelicans every other week. Jose Alvarado, Devontae Graham. I didn't even use Dyson Daniels, Kyra Lewis. Jackson Hayes is back. I mean, shit. Now, I shouldn't be allowed to just name a guy who's young, who I assume is talented, like Daniels, like Lewis. You know, I think Jackson turned the corner a little bit. Super frustrating when he was younger. But because an older player we already know isn't good, he shouldn't just automatically have less value than a younger player that we don't have an answer on yet. But that New Orleans group, I don't know if anybody else can go as deep as them. I've got Memphis. Cerruti brought that up. He goes, hey, don't forget about Memphis. Never forget about Memphis. I can't stop making that Memphis joke, which I got to stop doing. I don't even think it's funny anymore. Ja, Desmond Bane, Aldama's third in minutes. None of us are quite sure what's going on there yet, but he's rebounding, he's defending, he's shooting it well. So, he's shooting it okay, I guess, from three. Steven Adams, Conchar, Dylan Brooks, Tyus Jones, who I've always loved, Brandon Clark. Then you're like, okay, do I give you credit for David Roddy too soon? Do I give you credit for Jake LaRavia too soon? And then I got to throw Jaren Jackson in the mix as well. Here's my point. The next guy that says the Clippers are the deepest 1 through 9, not only is it challengeable, it's likely wrong.